We pay our respect to the unceded territory and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States, from 4 cultural groups. We aspire to learn from Indigenous traditional knowledge and experiences in undoing the injustices of the past. Supervisor Anderson is out sick today. We hope he feels better and we wish him well.
Jeff, the vast majority of doctors and nurses have no idea what they are involved in. The professions are filled with good-meaning people who have simply been led astray. They have no idea of their key role in deliberate harm/depopulation. They are mind-controlled. They have been taught by eugenicists. It is simply an uncomfortable truth. The vast majority of teachers fall in the same category. There are, of course, some lovely, well-meaning people. They too are simply mind-controlled. Their profession hijacked by the same Rockefeller clan that hijacked medicine in the early 1900s. The teachers have no ideas. They have no idea they are indoctrinating the kids with lies meant to cage the children as unknowing, free-range slaves working as cogs in the wheel of this inverted beast system. Our military members, filled with genuine patriotism, they similarly have no idea that they are the muscle for this cabal at the federal level. Police officers have no idea that they are the muscle for the cabal at the domestic level. All the people at big corporations have no idea their coordination with government is full-on fascism, helping to facilitate the tyranny at hand. All the people voting can't yet see that the system is completely fraudulent and the two parties are in fact one. Everybody is just doing their job. This place has long been run by liars, manipulators, eugenicists. The majority of humans carrying out tasks through these creeps are completely oblivious to their involvement/personal responsibility. That is changing, Jim. May they awaken sooner than later, and may we all have extra grace for them as they have their related revelations. It is not/will not be easy. The board members here are all under the same nefarious mind control, or in on it.
Thank you. Thank you. Your time is up. Next speaker, please.
Name is Kara. Arizona, Connecticut, Florida, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Maine, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming. 24 states. What do these 24 states have in common? These are the states making legislation to protect their constituents from geoengineering and weather modification experiments. Jim Desmond, pilot of 33 years for Delta. Jim, I know you're very popular these days on some very big issues like our sanctuary city status, protecting our border, and the insanity of having mentally ill boys confused and playing on teams with girls. I support your efforts here. I thank you for your common sense stance on these issues. What I'm asking from you here today is more common sense. We know that Congress mandated to fund these geoengineering projects without a single study on the effects of human health or without a single vote passed by we, the people, giving our consent. We know this because now we can see how and where our tax monies are being paid and spent via the website usaspending.gov. So what's the common sense, you ask? Be the guy in California that takes this issue head on. Contact any of us conspiracy theorists that have been coming in here for the last 4 years to explain to you what geoengineering is, because you claim to have no idea. Better yet, just look up. We are being sprayed day in and day out. Think of all the TV airtime they could give you, Jim. Former pilot with eyes on a congressional seat, speaking out on the harmful effects of geoengineering and weather modification projects without the people's consent. This could be your big ticket item. At least you're acknowledging it.
Before the next speaker begins, I just want to note that staff is going to be bringing up a video for the speaker. I want to note that this, what is about to be shown may be considered graphic for some viewers.
Hi, my name is Zora Fahim, President and Founder of Los Angeles Alliance for Animals, also District 5 voting constituents. For over a year now, the Board of Supervisors have heard from tax-abiding voting county residents of the mishandlings of Department of Animal Services. The result, Kathleen Flannery gaslighting residents, we suspect lying to residents, also I suspect being untruthful to the board, downplaying what is actually happening on Artesian Road, and the failures of DAS. Well, pictures don't lie. This horse that has a broken leg on Artesian Road fencing was massively broken, so a chestnut mare got out of the property and was later discovered on the road with a severely broken leg. Horse was left on the side of the road with her body that was left overnight. I suspect this horse has died because of Kathleen Flannery due to her inaction, care, concern for animals who may not vote for you, but animals have attorneys, they have politicians, they have reporters, and they have campaign managers. To make matters worse, she allowed Rachel Borelli, who is a former volunteer coordinator, to become the interim assistant director for DES, who has zero experience to run the Department of Animal Services. Let me be clear today. DAS is not a best friends club. It is an enforcing body that should be enforcing California law and putting criminals behind bars. I want to put on record, this horse that laid for 3 days suffered and died in District 5, even when Department of Animal Services was called for assistance, failed to act appropriately. I suspect this was due to Kathleen Flannery, Steve Lujan, Rachel Borelli, Eric Bodner, Deputy District Eric Bodner, who is known to be a weak and lazy prosecutor that won't prosecute cases because experts will stand against him. I don't know what the point of your job is then. And why is the county still paying his salary, wasting our money? Do we give free handouts now? Thank you.
Andrew, I think we have some information to share and to respond to the comments that were just shared.
Yeah, sure. Animal Services actively monitoring the situation. Artesian Ranch, as you know, we had folks on the property in November. We walked the entire property at Artesian Ranch, and we found all the horses to be in good condition. We continue to monitor that situation. We have been at the property on February 7th as well, and that visit to the property was actually based on a dog nuisance complaints and charges that were filed by the district attorney's office. So we were able to remove a dog from that property as well. So we are continually monitoring the situation. We have active visitations on that specific property as well.
So just to clarify, we were there on the 7th of February.
That's correct.
And the DA is working on this dog complaint, and
That's
it's
correct.
active. It remains active.
It remains active situation.
Okay, thank you very much for the update. And, obviously we need to continue monitoring this and doing everything we can.
Absolutely. We take the complaints very seriously.
Thank you very much.
My name is Peter Noper. I'm here to speak my disapproval of the San Diego policy on immigration enforcement, specifically the part of not providing assistance or cooperation with ICE in its immigration efforts. By not allowing the sheriff to cooperate with ICE, you took a step in the direction of destroying the sovereignty of the United States. We require those borders. We have to, if we're going to be a sovereign country, we have to have the borders, we have to enforce them. How could you place your hand on your heart and pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and then adopt an immigration policy to destroy the United States? I don't understand it. I'm completely at a loss. My last part, I'm addressing to Mr. Anderson, which you are not here today, so I guess I will address your empty seat. I hope you get to see this video, Mr. Anderson, because I'm going to be absolutely brutal with you. You represent District 2, my district. You can't have it both ways, Mr. Anderson. I'm asking you to speak out against the policy on immigration or take the knee during the next Pledge of Allegiance, while the rest of us in District 2 pledge our allegiance to the flag. That flag means everything to me, and I don't want to see the county destroy it by this immigration policy of trying to destroy our sovereignty of the United States. It's horrible. I don't get it. How can you pledge allegiance to that flag and then turn around and destroy it? How can you place your hand on your heart? When I say it, I place two hands on my heart because I shake when I do it. And I pledge my allegiance to the sovereignty of this country. Thank you.
Michael, how can this be happening? So many speakers come here wondering, how can this be happening? And it was interesting that the first proclamation, the first love bombing, flattery bombing proclamation given today was for the American Heart Association. We're talking about the heart. And I'm talking about more than the physical apparatus. We've come here for nearly 4 years. People come here confused, Tara, because they're expecting to see a certain kind of presence. Now, I know you're trying to remake yourself and rebrand yourself with the haircut and do all this since you've taken over Nora's spot. But people are seeing through it. How can all this be happening? We're going to talk about behavioral health, one of your favorite topics, and this is never addressed here. This book by Jackson McKenzie, Psychopath Free, Recovering from Emotionally Abusive Relationships with Narcissists, Sociopaths, and Other Toxic People. It goes into detail, yes, Ebony, it goes into detail about how this kind of psyche operates. I'm not here to diagnose anyone, but so many of the symptoms and presentations reflect malignant narcissism. It wasn't just Nathan Fletcher. It wasn't just Nora Vargas. This is a systemic issue. Kimberly over here, in the shoes of Eric McDonald and Nick Mascione, she works for HHS. Something else that's not talked about is how the bioweapon serum injection, Ebony, is killing people, turning on cancers, causing strokes. And this is something you won't address. Guess what? It's all imploding. Good news. How good can it get? Change is here.
Hey, there's truth. Just like lying County Council Claudia Silva, Fire Chief Meacham needs to go. He obfuscated data on electric vehicle fires. He claimed they're not an increasing problem, but he omitted since when, because 5 years ago there were no EV fires. Then he had no comment for the fires started by homeless drug addicts, when we have videos of them and the professional arsonists, 2 of which were just caught here in San Diego. And the downed brand new fire helicopters, that's unacceptable. Why didn't CAL FIRE or the sheriff come to the county 8 months ago when the helicopter wasn't working? That's negligence. County needs to work with the water authorities to start building more water sources upon mountaintops. There's already one that was used during a fire. We need them everywhere. And Tara, at the January 29th meeting, you said it'd be upsetting if the city, state, and federal representatives didn't want to come to the county's Huon River Special Meeting Theater. Imagine being the residents of Imperial Beach and always experiencing failed reps for decades. It's just more evidence of how you, Tara, are disconnected from reality. Let's add to that psychosis your 2017 blog that said, quote, our 8-year plan, retake the Senate, take back Congress, build blue states and cities. States are laboratories of experimentation. Establish universal health care, regulate climate emissions, set carbon emissions caps, tax financial transactions, progressive tax law. If Trump tries to bully sanctuary cities, we will sue. Adopt another state, city, county, building cadres of local leaders skilled at influencing the political process. If there is a single silver lining to the Trump disaster, it may be a once-in-a-generation chance to revitalize. We have now entered a raw struggle for power. We are the Rebel Alliance. We are the Blue Beacon Project, end quote. What a nut job. Has anything changed? I don't think it has. Nobody buys your lies about the abused, neglected, underweight horses on Artesian Road either, Tara. Lies.
Hi, Catherine Reds. I'm speaking on item 6, communication received. Number 7, your monthly periodic financial report. So glad to report you have right now in your pooled investment fund for all the county $16.5 billion in cash. $16.5 billion in cash. In August of 2024, 5 months ago, 5 months before this, you had $13.1 billion in cash. That's an additional $3.4 billion in cash that's in your pooled investment fund that you're getting interest on. And so, I always talk about the ARPA trust fund that you have to spend by the end of the year. You have still $115 million in cash. sitting in the ARPA trust fund. And now I'm just going to look up first five because I looked it up. First five, you have $22 million in cash sitting in your fund. It's not being spent. $22 million in cash. I'm going to go to page 39 that has so many things here. On page 39, I wanted to mention that you have in your mental health WIC for Welfare Institution Code, you have $325 million in cash. You say you're going to spend it this year, but you're not. You're not going to spend that much cash in the next, 3 months. You pretend you are, but you're not. I wish, especially Desmond and especially Monica Montgomery Stepp, please call me so I literally can walk you through all this. There's so much money, especially in the schools. We could build so much housing in the schools for teachers. We could build housing for county employees. We could help the homeless. We could do anything. There's cash sitting unused. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mark, all these videos are on YouTube mostly, or one of these others. So this is from this video titled here on YouTube. Actually, this is the organization, the username, and this is the video it's from right here. And I'm speaking on number 1. Pediatrician screening for anxiety and depression is at 7 minutes. Identifying mental illness in elementary school children, rapidly changing feelings is at 9 minutes and 40 seconds. Color wheels helping children find the language to describe their feelings. I do not want my children, being normal children in elementary school, being exposed to even concentrating on and thinking about how completely screwed up someone's mind could be. That's really, really wrong. Mental health education for everyone, including little teeny kids. Whole goal is to get young people into treatment earlier. Educate community at large. That's at 21 minutes and 40 seconds. California mental health providers who make money off this and have CEOs that make a lot are a mix of nonprofit and for-profit organizations. Last year, Rady's Children's Hospital had a 30% increase in children experiencing mental health. Okay, I have 30 seconds left, so I'm going to speed this up. This is probably an article, it might be on YouTube, I think it's an article title about the case for using drugs on little kids. This is a video documentary called The Minds of Men. You need to see this title. It covers these topics at these minutes. Little children, they were burning out their brains. This is the history of the Psychiatric Association, burning their brains with electrodes hanging out of their head as they walk around. And they used it on black people during protests too, or they were planning to. I'm out of time.
Thank you.
Cesar Javier, representing the smallest political unit, District 4 of the county, District 9 of the core city of the region. This is all about governance, health services, financial, money matters. It's all about management and administration of the delivery of public good to all, meaning the haves and the have-nots. Lessons. Have we, as assigned leaders, go through moral trait, testing, experimenting?
Can you please pause this time?
Yes, ma'am. This is all about governance, which is about financial and health services,
Which number?
all of it. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, explain again which.
Item 1 to 6.
Items 1 through 6, and
We are given only 2 minutes, ma'am.
well, you've paused this time, right? Okay, good. Yeah, your time is paused, so please explain which item you're speaking to.
Everything, ma'am. They are connected, interconnected under the word governance, management, administration.
Hold on one moment. Claudia, is that sufficient nexus? I'm asking our county council.
No, the agenda items have specific actions and specific issues that are addressed within them, and the comments should address the specific agenda items.
So just to clarify, it should address not sort of the theme, but it should address the item or the recommendation or the action.
Correct. It should address what's in the board letter and the topic covered off by it.
Okay. You can go ahead and continue speaking if you identify even just one item that you're speaking to and you have a nexus with that item.
On the financial
Thank you.
thing, on the health services thing, I'm sorry, ma. 2 minutes with a long story of corruption. Corruption equals monopoly plus discretion without accountability. This is what's happening. It's not just cancer, as mentioned, presented earlier in your proclamations. This is all about governance. We prayed. We recited the Pledge of Allegiance. Javier family, the smallest political unit, who is supposed to be protected, defended. We are victims of toxicity, financial. We haven't heard about the balance sheet and the loss and profit financial statement. So we would know whether we are saving money or wasting money.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My person uses the name Audra. Number 1 and 2, absolutely. You should not be dealing with children until we can acknowledge what is actually happening to the children that are in the care of the county. The ones that have come across the border and disappeared unaccompanied, the ones that were at the convention center that you guys found the sponsors to it, so interesting how that works. If parents weren't concerned about having their children taken away by HHS and foster care, then going into the hands of abusers, and then just, putting the child on psychotropic drugs so he can just stay with the abuser and shut up. Until we acknowledge actually what's going on, you should have nothing, absolutely nothing to do with children. And we shouldn't be spending our money on it. Because it's very disturbing to see what happens and like the brainwashing and indoctrination of children, making them they believe that they could actually be another sex when they never will be. Encouraging them to mutilate their bodies so that they are forever in pain, having infections, never going to have any kind of sexual arousal ever. It's like we are literally punishing children, abusing children for money, and nobody wants to acknowledge it. It's very disturbing. It's very disturbing. I mean, we even, allow a little 5-year-old girl to be raped in the county, and it doesn't really seem to matter. We just need open borders so more rapists can come. And it's like you guys just sit there with your head down. You can't even be like, yeah, there is a problem. So until you acknowledge it and fix it, you're complicit and culpable in it. And you should be punished just the same as the predators that are abusing these children, because you're no different.
Yo, Justin here. How you guys doing? I just want to go ahead and say, Claudia, that January 9th, I told you that I was going to have Nora throw me in jail. You could go ahead and fast forward the tape at the Board of Supervisors meeting, the second session, 3 hours, 41 minutes into it. You refused to answer my questions regarding election fraud. You blocked me every single step of the way. Now you want to go ahead and limit people's speech.
Can you pause this time for a moment? Can you pause this time for a moment? Just a reminder that this is an opportunity to comment on items on the consent agenda. So if you could identify which item. Okay, identify the item. That
all of them, because you guys, she allowed you guys to win by fraud.
Please pause.
She blocked Andrew, all evidence of fraud. You guys.
Okay, I'm going to have to cut you off if you don't pause. I'm going to work pausing your time. So you can comment on any item in the consent agenda. You can't just say all of them. You have to explain which item you're commenting on and how your comments are related to that item. If you have any questions, I can have County Council clarify that, but again, you're free to comment on any item on the consent agenda, and you can say anything you'd like about any item on the consent agenda. It just needs to be relevant. If it's not relevant and you want to talk about anything else in the whole wide world, you have to call in at non-agenda public comment. Okay, please continue.
How much time do I need to spend to talk about what I'm going to talk about? How much time am I going to have to waste to tell you the item so that you could understand, because you have limited. You drink too much tap water. You have too much fluoride in your system. You cannot put things together anymore. That is not my fault. That is yours. So how much time do I need to spend to explain to you how this is connected? Can you explain that to me? Or are you just trying to waste my time and cover up for Claudia, for covering up voter fraud and sending me to jail and trying to send me to prison for it? October 9th, where you all took off for a half an hour without telling the people and lied to the public when they asked you about it. So don't give me this crap that you guys are here for the people, because you're clearly not. What do you have to say about that?
Thank you. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on the items on the consent agenda.
Good morning. My name is Roseanne Sharp. Thank you, Honorable Supervisors, for taking up this matter. Imagine my surprise when I read that the San Diego County gun owners advertised that 2 supervisors would vote against this procurement ordinance. For years, I've heard from the NRA that we have enough firearm laws on the books, just enforce them. Well, that is what this procurement does. It trusts the gun dealers and verifies their statements with proof of written inspections by the ATF. It allows your procurement division to act informed on your behalf, and I thank you for the hard work that you have done. It's a very impressive presentation. So I hope you will trust the ATF and you care about how taxpayer dollars are spent, and you oppose risking more crime guns getting out on the street to harm law enforcement and citizens. And you will vote for this ordinance to include ammunition and require the highest standard of proof. I ask you to vote yes to trust and verify that gun dealers are operating safely for the protection of law enforcement and the public in mind, and that our tax dollars are being well spent. Thank you.
My name is John White. I work with San Diegans for Gun Violence Prevention, an all-volunteer group here in San Diego. I urge the board to require proof of compliance through submission of documents and not simply attestations. The cities of Los Angeles and San Diego have both adopted ordinances with this documentation requirement. I urge the board to use the county's considerable purchasing power to encourage all dealers to comply with all gun safety laws. That compliance goes beyond a dealer's mere attestation to showing true proof of compliance with the law, as the cities of San Diego and LA have done. Every time county law enforcement purchases guns or ammo from a non-compliant dealer, it's an end run on the will of the citizens of San Diego County. This ordinance and attachment will be a big step toward ensuring across-the-board end-to-end compliance. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Carol Landale. I'm president of the local chapter of Brady United Against Gun Violence, and I strongly urge the board to vote in favor of strong standards for firearm dealers with whom the county does business. It's just common sense that vendors doing business with the county be required to provide proof that they follow all federal and state laws, and that they have policies in place that ensure that their staff are properly trained in best practices, preventing theft, sales to prohibited persons, including straw purchases. A simple attestation from a dealer is just not enough. The cities of San Diego and Los Angeles require documentation from the dealers with whom they do business. By following their lead, the County of San Diego has an opportunity to encourage firearm dealer accountability and to keep all of us safe. Brady strongly supports true proof of compliance with all gun laws. I ask the board to consider the more stringent options of those being presented today. Thank you.
Mark, these obviously are tactics that are used to intimidate the stores that are selling guns. Of course, it's a big contract to get military or police contracts, and they all want to get that business. I want to say that this is definitely interrelated. California is absolutely the worst place for defending your family or your country. It's totally unconstitutional. The Supreme Court has said it's unconstitutional to limit with 10-round clips or to not allow Americans to have good rifles, which is absurd. Here are some article titles, or they might be on YouTube. I believe these are all articles. So this guy is willing to use the National Guard to take people's weapons. Then there's some people that are good here, like new gun laws won't be enforced by Sutter County Sheriff's Office. And this is a guy in Congress. Everyone should see that. I've only got a minute here, less than a minute, so I'm going to be really brief. When I was a kid, there were no school shootings. I never even heard of them. Everyone had guns. All the parents came out of World War II. Some people have machine guns. There were no shootings like there are now, but it was a better society. You guys never address intentionally the two main causes, which is the wealth distribution in the U.S. This is where people, 9 out of 10, Republicans and Democrats all agree we should be at this white line. This is where they think we are, and this is where we actually are. We're a line. We almost don't show on the graph. So that and the Federal Reserve causing inflation. You can't defend your house if you don't have a good gun that shoots as many bullets as you need. You can't defend your country without good rifles they call assault weapons.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
As presented, by the way, Cesar Javier, the ordinance is not efficient and therefore ineffective as you have presented. I disagree the recipe. It has no salt. I need salt. We need salt. That is, who is the accountable lead agency on this when it is implemented? Give us the name and give us the position. I disagree with the substance, the menu. We will not touch it because it's not safe food. It's unclean food. Corruption equals monopoly plus discretion without accountability is a failed governance. In our bloc, we need firearm disciplined, patriotic, loving citizen. Please let us improve, dig the ordinance so that America will really the best home for the brave. Listen, us as now seated there as assigned leadership, let's have the skill of day-to-day solving problems. Let's have the knowledge of social judgment skill and be effective leader. We are here to help you. We are your antibiotics. Without you, you have no followers. We are part of your...
Thank you. Your time is up. Next speaker, please.
My person uses the name Audra. I would like to give this propaganda update, employed to take our guns, a warm handoff to you, Jim. Would you like to take it back? He's not even paying attention. That makes sense. Yeah, it's just really interesting because you guys want to take our guns. I mean, that's the whole point. That's why people should be going to the black market and buying your guns that are unregistered so the government can't come after you. And it's interesting because it's like you guys took an oath to the Constitution. Did you forget what the Second Amendment says? It shall not be infringed. And so that's what you guys are going to do because it's an inverted world. You're going to do the opposite of what you're supposed to. And it's so funny when the government actually sells guns to the cartel that they use on and other people, like people crossing the border, trying to, right? And then they get into the fight with the cartels and get in the gunfire line of fire, and you know, some of them lose their lives, but like that's not weird. Let's just come after the people and act like it's their fault. And it's funny because you guys are like, we want to make sure they comply with federal laws. You do? Well, that's interesting because you guys are obstructing the federal government. And you're like, we don't have to listen to that. No, we don't. But then we'll say that, you know, like immigration is a federal thing, but then we're going to obstruct their ability to like do anything about it. But I mean, as long as these people are in compliance, right, and attesting to it, it's good. I just find it so funny, like the way that things work when, like, you know, the people that should be looked into for having firearms, like, you know, law enforcement people are going to beat people up. But instead, let's just go after the people because we cannot allow them to protect themselves. How horrible would that be? Oh, again, go back into the black market and buy your guns unregistered, the ghost guns that they're so afraid of. Yeah.
You will now hear from those that requested to speak by phone.
I wanted to also mention, I don't advocate for suicide, but I must say, since the government believes that they own you, to commit suicide is actually theft. They want you going out the way they say, like a good little servant.
Thank you.
Just a reminder, there's no clapping in the chamber. That's considered disruptive. So if you want to show your support, you could do something silent like that, but no clapping. Thanks.
Justin, I just want to go ahead and point out there is no disrupting the office unless if I want it to be disrupted. At that point, I will go ahead and allow you to talk about whatever you want to talk about, and I won't interrupt you and say what topic you're talking about. You know, it's not like it's clear and obvious that you're trying to stop me from talking, and you really are highly annoyed at the fact that my threats don't work. I mean, your threats don't work on me. Matter of fact, I lean into them. I did. I told the sheriff that. I said I was going to stand right up in the line and stand right there and piss you off until you did something about it, and you did. Now you want to go ahead and claim that you guys don't want to go ahead and, like Jim Desmond saying about suing other people, but you guys spent how much money to make it so that I can't talk to any county employee? Or else that you guys could go ahead and throw me in jail for whatever reason,
Andrew,
and then I have to wait for it.
Can you please listen this time? A reminder, we're on item 7, which is the firearm procurement ordinance vendor requirements. So please speak to that item. I will restart your time. Thank you.
Absolutely. You guys took away my right to own a gun because you guys were afraid that I called you a fucking cunt. That is the reason why you stripped me my right to own a gun, because I called you a fucking cunt. I do not believe that you guys have any authority on who and who should not have a gun.
Can you please pause again? Andrew, please pause this time. It seems that you're speaking to a matter that impacted you personally regarding your right to have a firearm. That is not what this item is about. This item is about county procurement rules and whether the county will be able to buy firearms from...
Fluoride. You drink too much fluoride. Obviously, you guys do not have you should not have the authority to say who should not have a gun. When obviously I did not threaten your life, but yet you guys pretend I did so that you could strip my rights away from me. This is clearly on topic. I do not understand how you cannot see the correlation between the two. You must drink too much fluoride water. That is the only explanation that I have for this. You went to school.
Thank you. Now hear from the next.
Before the next speaker, I just want to clarify why that comment, although regarding firearms, was not on topic with this particular item. The comment had to do with the caller's specific individual circumstance regarding something to do probably with a judicial restraining order that's in the purview of the courts. This item has to do with the county's procurement policies and what rules we will put on what kinds of gun distributors we will be buying from. I just wanted to take a moment to clarify this for the audience. I know sometimes the word firearm might make us seem that anything to do with a firearm is relevant. No, we have to talk to the specific item at hand. Thank you.
It's true, probably the restraining order. But you know what this item really is?
We sit here and have theater all day. Sit here, we do theater like all day long.
Election season's over. Hello. This seems like a presentation to aid and abet the misuse of county tax dollars, because the examples of cities with a similar useless ordinance are great. The most extremist, dangerous cities in California. But didn't these policies already exist? Was there no documentation required before? Was the county not following state and federal laws before? Is a firearm procurement the only federal law the county will recognize? Not on immigration policy? The presentation even mentioned assisting law enforcement agencies. What irony. Then there were mentioned waivers for emergencies. So the county admits that this ordinance causes delays in protection. Wow. Here's another question. Can the county protect people from firearms violations if they can't even protect horses from abusive hoarding situations? And then there was mentioned working with the ATF. Okay, somebody asked the ATF about protecting children at Waco back in the 90s. Who knows what I'm talking about? They are nobody to be overlooking anything related to anything in this country, let alone firearms, because they have their own history of murder, quite frankly. So this presentation offered no evidence of anything to justify the item being in existence at all. Is there some kind of issue that we have not been informed of because it wasn't in the presentation? This is nothing but a runaround about people being able to procure the firearms they need, and especially our deputies whose job it is to respond to crime. How dare you? Thank you.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Mark, first of all, it's incredibly hard to find how this money is being spent. You guys just don't tell us. And I read the book. I sit around for 10 minutes reading things that aren't even online, or you would have to just go everywhere for a long time, an hour or two, to find things on one topic. But what's more important is this is about low-income housing, of course, and what a scam that is, because you guys don't address the wealth inequality in America. That's a video on YouTube, Wealth Inequality in America. I held the graph up just a few minutes ago, and you don't address the Federal Reserve. So the government is causing a problem that will definitely destroy the middle class, and has pretty much already done it. And the idea that you're going to make developers and contractors a ton of money, and CEOs of corporations, as well as many other people, and never address the problem. And then on top of that, It's the rent. Usually in low income, they pay about a third of the rent, but the government doesn't drop the rest of the rent. Oh no, they have to screw us, the taxpayer. They could just ignore it and say, we'll just rent you for a third of the rent. But no, we taxpayers are subsidizing 2/3 of the rent in these low income housing. Usually it's around that. And that, of course, is totally unsustainable when you have a Federal Reserve that's causing inflation, so more and more of the middle class is becoming poverty-stricken. It's just a recipe for absolute disaster, which is what the UN wants. And this is all interrelated. Taking our guns away, having cameras everywhere, having no good distribution of wealth, because to a certain degree, wealth is freedom. If you don't have the money to travel somewhere, and I'm out of time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My person uses the name Audra. It is interesting to hear the previous speakers talking about like the benefit, because it's like anytime you're going to get money from the government, you know, there doesn't seem to be any checks and balances whenever you guys are giving money away to make sure that it's being spent on whatever it needs to be. And how cool would that be? I mean, I guess like if I was a scumbag, I would come to the government and be like, give me $25 million, and then I'll just give you like a little breakdown and pretend I'm going to tell you what it's for. But I actually have a conscience, so it's like, can't engage in that kind of shenanigans. But it's interesting because it will go into benefit somebody's pockets. That's where all these, you know, programs and policies and grants and everything do. It's always, you know, fill in the pockets of some, you know, higher echelon CEO of some company while, you know, we're paying for it. It's like you're giving them our money, and then we don't get to know what it's for, where it's going to be spent. But hey, I mean, that's the way the government works, and it works very well, screwing the people over. And then, yeah, again, with like what Mark was saying about the low-income housing, I mean, you know, you should just, you know, like take the other parts of the rent that you would then come to the people to get to provide low-income housing. Like all this stuff is a scam that you guys engage in. It's actually racketeering and RICO that you should be arrested for, but it's fine because, you know, at least you'll be punished in one way or another when you meet our maker, because he's going to go, what are you guys doing? All we were pretending to, like, you know, really help people, but just really bank off the backs of people suffering. You guys, good job, Tara. You're doing very good being a socialist. I love it. The new hairdo fits you very well. Is that on topic? I'm not sure. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Consuelo. So yeah, this item is just more nothing. I mean, we all have, well, the people paying attention have already come to the conclusion that they don't plan on fixing the homelessness issue or, you know, this housing thing. It's all to benefit somebody else's pocket. We know Todd Gloria's got some junk on him, or a lot of junk on him. I mean, it's just all so corrupt and disgusting and foul. And the fact that, you know, it's just all for show. It's all for, it's just, it is funny. And to the ones who are paying really close attention, did you see how, you know, just the sheer fact that Mr. Javier was interrupted, but they gave Justin extra time. They let him start over. Pay attention, people. Get what's going on. Get and see how these people operate. It's sick. It's sick. There's controlled opposition. There's shit happening behind the scenes, and people need to start paying attention.
Please pause.
Yes. No, I'm not going to. I am totally on topic.
This item is regarding the issuance of exempt facility bonds by the California Municipal Finance Department for the benefit of Montecito Village Apartments. Please clarify how your comments pertain to this item and keep them on topic. Thank you.
Okay. Am I here? Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Will you start my time over if I call Tara a cunt? I mean, is that okay? I mean, I'm like making sense here. I'm making sense, and the fact that you guys are so shady and so corrupt, and you allow others to go on their rants is ridiculous. People pay attention, see what's really happening, what's going on. You got people being silenced, like Mr. Javier and myself and others who are making sense.
Please
while
pause.
they let.
Please pause. Please pause for time, Andrew. I'd like an opinion from County Council. Are these comments relevant to item 8?
These items are not on topic.
Okay, these items are not on topic. I've already given you one warning, so that means you now forfeit your time. Thank you.
I am against providing benefits to these sheltering projects.
And please state your name for the record.
Cesar Javier, I'm sorry, sir. Who is the presenter? Is it Department of Engineering, County of Engineering, or we call it loose? Is it loose? May I clarify, ma'am?
Are you asking a question of the CAO?
If it is appropriate to be answered.
There is no presentation on this item.
So how could we now learn and educate us so that we could provide healthy input? Because this is all about homelessness. Poor people has not received the public good in terms of roof. Lessons, we have fire and we need water to put a fire on shelters that are being devoured by fire. This is all about, that's why we stand here to say, please, show us, tell us why we give benefit to these builders. The driver of progress and economy, when in fact it is straining our money. Why do we have to build apartments like this and we cannot build tents, emergency shelter, which those homeless poor people are showing us? They just need clean water, clean land, clean ocean. That's the point. Let's solve it. Thank you.
Mark, so I did look at this one a little more because it's $100 million, not $25 million. And all the same things I said about the other one apply. It's low-income housing, 2/3 of the rent subsidized by taxpayers. It's unsustainable because of these two things. This is the wealth distribution in America. It's from a video called Wealth Inequality in America. Wealth Inequality in America on YouTube. In this graph, this is what everyone agreed, this white line is what everyone agrees it should be. 9 out of 10, Republicans and Democrats. A study done by a university professor. The line below it is where everyone thinks it should be, this green line. And then the dark green down at the bottom is what it actually is, where you almost don't see the poor or the middle class at all on the graph. It's disgusting. Most people have no idea of this. They also don't know. So the problem isn't that the housing costs too much. It's that the government has allowed the corporations to make it so people are not making a livable wage here. And the middle class is disappearing. That is what is happening. And it could only be intentional. No government person could be that stupid, especially since I'm pointing it out. Everyone needs to see this video. I was aware of this in a much greater detail in a video called The Money Masters by Bill Still. It's still on there. It's kind of grainy, but you can see. If you want to see a full documentary on how everyone in the U.S. got screwed out of their money forever, unless people get together and calmly talk to each other and do something peacefully about it, you can see The Money Masters. Here's the short version. See this video title on YouTube from 6 minutes, 40 seconds to 24 minutes. Between this, the Federal Reserve causing inflation and wealth distribution, this is criminal and is destroying the middle class and making it so people are homeless.
My person uses the name Audra. Well, I mean, that's the point, is to make everybody homeless, right? And if we really wanted to fix it, there wouldn't be a homeless issue. But we don't live in a world where people want to do that. We live in a world where people want to fill their pockets with paper, fiat currency that's just printed out of thin air. It has no value, but only does because people think it does. But it's really sad to see, like, going on the point in time count and seeing the atrocities, all the abuse that's happening with the people that are supposed to be getting help. Oh, let's live in a rat-infested tent city. Let's live with mold here. Let's give them food that nobody would want to eat and charge a lot of money for it. The scam is so interesting. It's interesting being on the other side. The people that are engaged in it are like, we're not scamming you guys. Not at all. Why would we do that? We love you. Now take this genocide shot. It'll make you healthy. It will keep you well. It'll make you docile. It'll make you a slave to the system because you're going to believe everything that we say.
Please
I was
pause
waiting
the
for
time.
that, Tara. Oh my gosh, it took you long enough. Jeez.
Please pause her time. Audra,
42 seconds of fun left.
please use them on topic.
Oh, they are?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. On topic. On topic is the housing, and so we're going to talk about housing and how it is a total scam for you guys. And Tara, how much are you getting paid for this one item? I'm wondering, is part of that $100 million going to go into your pocket? Is it? Maybe in pennies? Like, I mean, how many pennies are in $100 million? Do you think that's a lot of wishes?
Okay, please pause Audra's time.
Yes.
Okay, just because you use the words 100 million, because they're referenced in the title, that doesn't mean your comments are on topic.
I was talking about...
Can you please stop talking so that we don't have to restart your time while I'm talking? So please speak to the item, which is regarding the issuance of exempt facility bonds by the California Municipal Finance Authority for the benefit of Alvarado Creek Apartments in their aggregate amount not to exceed $100 million. You can't just use the words in the title to make it on topic. It has to be relevant to the actual item. And I've seen you do it many, many times. So I have great confidence that you can do so. Thank you.
Gosh, this is so great. She has confidence in, I really feel good today because you said that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 45 requests to speak on this item, 27 in person, 18 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 1,885 e-comments, 333 in favor, 1,534 in opposition, and 4 neutral.
Michael, I rarely agree with Jim Desmond, but I do agree with him on this. There's a lot of nexuses to this topic, Tara. Gay people, bisexual people, transgender people are used as tools of manipulation in a game of triangulation against the people, just like they did with black people, just like they do with Indian people. And at a larger level, higher altitude, this is what it's about. It's getting people out of their heart space to make people hate each other. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. I know this item is going to fail because you have to have at least 3 people to vote for it. So that's unfortunate. But the good news is it's drawing attention to the games of triangulation and gaslighting that narcissistic psychopaths, like many of the traits on this board that are exhibited, are used to make people hate one another. It's not going to work. It's already failed. How good can it get?
Hi, good morning. Oliver Twist, AKA Mary Davis. First of all, thank you, Supervisor Desmond, for bringing this much-needed item forth. You gave out your board letter, did an excellent job of laying out examples of how women and girls are being harmed by the current policies and actions. I'd like to direct you to the UN report on violence against women and girls that indicated that male athletes have taken over 890 medals from female athletes. This is from the UN, and that there is real harm being done. That's to opportunity. There's also the physical risk of it as well. What is interesting is the county's own lawsuit says that children and adolescent brains are not fully developed. So as such, I'm not sure how you can be condoning things that for confused people that does permanent harm. Lastly, I direct you to Gender Health Query, a group of LGBT people who are concerned with over-medicalization of children and the harms being done. Thank you.
I'm a gay woman and founder of Taxpayers Oversight for Parents and Students. Do not allow...
Can you please state your name?
Oh, Marcy Strange.
Thank you.
Do not allow biological males in women and girls' spaces, competitive sports. Why? They expose themselves in showers. There's evidence of severe sports injuries, sexual abuse, stolen opportunities, and violations of federal laws, including Title IX, Ms. Remer. At this point, sex and money are the primary explanations for this widespread abuse of females. For those who ignore these concerns, it could lead to investigations to point to your personal conduct, including any possible inappropriate actions and auditing your tax returns. What's on your hard drive? J.K. Rowling eloquently asked, which side are you on, women's rights or men's demands?
Thank you. Your time is up. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Joanna. I'm a registered nurse in maternal fetal medicine, but most importantly, I'm a mother of a middle school-aged daughter in North County, San Diego. Last week, President Trump signed an executive order to protect Title IX, and San Diego needs to respect and enforce this in order to protect our girls and women. No boys should be allowed in our girls' bathrooms, locker rooms, or to compete against them in sports. Every day, my daughter in middle school and all of the other girls in her PE class are required to change in the girls' locker room with a confused biological boy that is now identifying as a girl. They've gone to school with this boy since kindergarten, who's now identifying as a girl. These girls are told to be tolerant and kind, and that their feelings of discomfort and dressing in front of this boy are wrong. By doing this, you're silencing our daughters. You're telling them that their rights don't matter. By enforcing this executive order, we need to tell our daughters that their rights and their abilities and their heart.
Thank you. Your time is up. Next speaker, please.
Hello, this is my first time speaking at a Board of Supervisors meeting. I just felt led to come down in support.
Please state your name.
Oh, Mike Schaefer, sorry. I felt led to come down and support this issue. I know the word common sense keeps getting thrown around a lot, but I'm on board with that. It just sounds very common sense that biological men should not be competing in competitive women's sports for their safety. And if this is really all about equality, I mean, how is equality with a male athlete competing with a female athlete? How's that equality? So I'm here to support this initiative. Thank you, Mr. Desmond.
Hello, Brita Lindstrom, and 79% of Americans and 68% of Democrats oppose transgender female and women's sports. Biological males who are transitioning to females and who have received hormone therapy still have higher testosterone levels, leading to greater muscle mass, bone density, and oxygen carrying capacity. In addition, although transitioning biological males have relatively lower levels of testosterone than they originally have, their advantages continue: muscle memory, fast muscle fibers, and their original bone structure. These factors clearly place females at an unavoidable competitive disadvantage and increases their risk for injury. This is science. Doesn't work. Please ensure equitable access to athletic opportunities for girls and women. Thank you.
Mark, 1 minute's a joke. First, I want to state that according to 54954.3c, people do have a right to critique omissions that you guys make. In other words, you didn't think it was important, but they do. And you don't have a right to determine the narrative on that. That's against the Brown Act and the Constitution completely, and the whole idea of them being able to say anything critical. So, obviously, it's not rocket science. It's not fair for a biological male, whatever he considers himself to be, to compete with girls. It's just not. I mean, that's blatantly obvious. I can't even think of her name, but some superstar swimmer, there's a big case about that, on the web. Anyway, it's just so blatantly obvious, and I'm not against trans people. It has nothing to do with that. You just heard the mother. No one could have said it better than she just did. That is criminal.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, my name is Nicole Sanford, a resident of District 1. Today, I want to address a critical issue that demands our attention: the safety of young athletes in San Diego County. A recent survey of college-educated Americans under the age of 45 revealed a disturbing truth. More than 1 in 4 current and former college athletes reported enduring inappropriate sexual contact from a campus authority figure. Most often, the perpetrator was a male coach or professor. These findings underscore that the foremost danger lies not in the inclusion of transgender individuals, but in the abuse of power by those entrusted to guide and protect young people. Instead of addressing this urgent issue, some in our society have instead chosen to scapegoat transgender individuals, spreading hateful lies to sow division. The current resentment against transgender people in our society is not rooted in facts and reason. I'll cut my words short by noting that I did not hear a single scientific quotation from any of you, and I urge any of you to provide one. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Claire Shaughnessy. I am the parent of an 18-year-old trans man. The impact this initiative would have on the transgender youth in San Diego is extremely negative. It would serve to intimidate and harm all transgender students in the county. Banning trans youth from sports is not based on medical science. Dr. Jack Turbin of UC San Francisco, the director of Gender Psychiatry Program, sent a letter to the NCAA last week where he resigned, saying the decision of the NCAA to ban trans women from sports does not align with medical or scientific consensus. He writes, quote, "I cannot in good conscience participate in this kind of politicization of science and medicine at the expense of the most vulnerable student athletes. I ask you to do the same when you vote. Thank you."
Hi, my name is Juan Guerrero. This is Nick Benedict, a 16-year-old transgender teen who was admitted to a hospital on February 7th, 2024, after they blacked out while being beaten on the bathroom floor of their high school. The next day, they were rushed back and pronounced dead at the hospital. An autopsy concluded Nex died by suicide. This is Hope, a transgender teen from Florida who left a note for her mother that read, "Dear Mommy, I am so sorry to do this to you, but I have killed myself by jumping off the top floor, the 12th floor of your building. I felt I could no longer live with my life as a lie, living as a boy instead of a girl. I knew I could become. I am so sorry I lied to you. Please forgive me for lying to you and for committing all the sins that I have committed."
Hi, my name's Erica Eldridge, and I'd just like to start with a quote from Supervisor Desmond that said, "This is a solution that's looking for a problem. This act, with its grossly misleading and offensive title, is transphobic and discriminatory. It violates so many rights that it will affect both trans and cis athletes alike. It violates privacy rights related to how this will be enforced. It violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. It violates Title IX, and it very explicitly violates California civil rights protections. California has pledged to be a sanctuary state for those who are targeted, oppressed, and terrorized elsewhere. San Diego is beautifully diverse. Let's celebrate that. We cannot be complicit in the attempt to erase trans people, particularly children who are vulnerable. What kind of message does this send to a child if they are prohibited from participating in sports, that they are not worthy, that they are assumed to be a threat, that they're undeserving? If you do not want to send this message, I urge you.
Sister Javier, our Constitution is the supreme law, and it has been amended 33 times, 27 solid, 6 in experiment. One doctrine that is very, very important. Man are equal. Regardless of your physical, emotional, whatever, we're equal. I just don't disagree with this item for discussion. This should have been solved since. Why only women and children to be protected? What about us of different diversity? Did you not notice the flag, District 4, Mom's Tip? In a lofty purse, a flag of different color.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Why did we allow that?
Sir, your time is up. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. Michael Miller-Pruce, District 4 resident and Health Psychology Research Fellow. Leading health and science organizations acknowledge that transgender people are at increased risk for mental and physical health conditions due to discrimination and mistreatment. In 2021, the American Heart Association released a scientific statement acknowledging that trans people face disparities in cardiovascular health for these reasons. Cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in the United States, and trans people have a 40% higher risk of cardiovascular disease and are at 1.5 to 2 times likely to die from cardiovascular disease compared to those who are not trans. HR 28 would harm trans people by contributing to this and other health disparities through limiting their ability to participate in physical activity and to access the myriad other benefits of team sports, as well as by exposing them to systematic discrimination from governmental and educational institutions. Adopting a position of support would convey to all citizens of San Diego County the board is willing to embrace discrimination without regard for the harms it may cause to its minoritized constituents.
My name is Ray Matthew Epstein, and I'm a regular volunteer at the North County LGBTQ Resource Center in Oceanside. I moved here 2.5 years ago from New Jersey, where I was born to a highly athletic mother who was the first girl to play in our high school basketball team in the 1970s, years before there were public school sports teams for girls. Kind of seems like if my mother could keep up with the boys, the eventual normalization of split gender teams was pointless and maybe even sexist. Since this act fails to cite any professional biologist and define what makes a biological male, I can only assume it's proposed in the spirit of the current federal administration, in which case by using the phrase at birth. The executive order, however, says, from President Trump, says it's at conception, meaning that we're all female right now. So this act is redundant and pointless. Some transgender girls who play on public school sports teams are future mothers. They are currently sisters, daughters, and more, although this does not decide their value as people. This is clearly part of a national wave to dehumanize and intimidate us, but you just created unity among the San Diego trans community. Thank you for letting me speak.
My person uses the name Audra. There will only always be XX and XY. That's never going to change. It's not something that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling like my chromosomes are different. And it's very sad to see that this is even something that we have to talk about, that this is something that goes on in this inverted world where, I mean, even like minor attracted persons, which is pedophilia, is like an accepted sexual preference, right? And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's just very sad to see all of the brainwashing that's going on with people and the way that they actually think and, you know, want to protect trans, but it's like, let's put women and children in danger. And that's okay, because I want to feel like I belong in the women's bathroom, having a dick and being able to whip it out and masturbate, because that's what's happened in girls' bathrooms. And it doesn't matter if the girl feels unsafe, that person deserves to be there, right? And actually, I was in favor of this. Thank
you. Next speaker, please.
Okay. Sarah Parker, that's actually not how chromosomes work.
Okay, everyone, please pause. Can you please pause for time? Let's all be respectful for each other. That's how we structure this meeting. If you want to talk, put your name in the queue, come up, you can speak oppose or in support, but we're not going to speak while others are speaking. That would be disruptive. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Sarah. I oppose any support by my county of the so-called Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act. First of all, trans women are women and trans girls are girls, period. The phrasing biological males used in this agenda item and proposed legislation is simply anti-trans bigotry. And just like cisgendered kids and adults, transgendered kids and adults deserve to feel safe and participate in sports programs of their choice. Second, the rhetoric of supporting women's sports and this country's sudden interest in women's and girls' sports is nothing more than a convenient vehicle for spreading anti-trans hate. Neither Jim Desmond nor any other bigot supporting this kind of hateful anti-trans legislation can name more than 5 women athletes, nor have they ever been to a professional women's sports event. This is a fake concern and interest, and for any cis women feeling supported or vindicated by this kind of legislation, you're being swindled. Third, perhaps most importantly, this kind of anti-trans proposal is violent, hateful, and dehumanizing to trans folks of all ages and genders. The main purpose of this kind of legislation is to remind the trans community that they're not welcome or respected in public life. What a disgusting message to send to another human being.
Thank you. Your time is up. Next speaker, please.
Hey, good morning. My name is Reverend Lenny Duncan. I'm from Coffee and Class Solidarity in Hillcrest. I'm here to speak in opposition to item number 10. Since much like Supervisor Desmond, I'm a big fan of small government. I came here as a called and ordained minister of the Church of Jesus Christ to share my vehement opposition to this. We know that Supervisor Desmond is using the lives of the most vulnerable and cares more about repeating messages of fear and intimidation, and has never watched a woman or girl sport for pleasure unless he was related to one of the players in his life. We know this is incredibly dishonest and just a political move, and we see you. Supervisor Desmond, if you're looking for scriptural guidance, look to St. Philip in Acts 8:26 through 40. When he encounters the Ethiopian eunuch who is black and by our modern definition trans, he says, there is nothing to keep you baptized. But if you're a trans child in San Diego, there's something from keeping you safe, and that's Supervisor Desmond and their petty politics, twisting scripture and the Bible just to gain a few votes from their local area. Supervisor Desmond is using the same atmosphere of political violence.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you. Thank you. Your time is up. Your time is up.
Okay, please stop.
Your time is up.
Sir, if you continue. Okay, please. Okay, okay, this is your last warning. Please leave the chamber. You are being disruptive of the conduct of this meeting. Please leave this chamber.
My name is Autumn Hope, and I'd like to speak in opposition to this item. How exactly is this an issue that is affecting the women and girls participating in sports within our community? Per a scientific review commissioned by the Canadian Centre for Ethics in Sport, there is no evidence that trans people pose a significant advantage or advantage at all. And within our sporting community, we make up less than 1% of the population. When so many problems face our community and the women and girls within our schools, such as food insecurity and a rising cost of education, focusing on such a non-issue is outright cruel towards the transgender community in San Diego. Members of the board, please choose to uplift the many rather than denigrate the few. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Aaron Nung. My pronouns are he, him, and they, them, and I'm a non-binary and trans resident of District 3. Growing up in K-12 public schools, I was afraid of ostracization from my family and school communities due to homophobia and transphobia. This attack on trans women will not only affect trans women, but call into question and invade the privacy and gender will invade the privacy and gender of gender non-conforming individuals. This item only serves to advance a narrative of bigotry and fear, not safety and wellness. Our trans and non-binary communities must be supported and cared for in this extremely uncertain time for them, in this time of danger and political injustice for them. And so, therefore, I urge you to vote no on this item. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is David Vance. My pronouns are they, them. I'm non-binary. I'm a resident of District 4, and I've been working with and advocating on behalf of San Diego's trans and non-binary community for about a decade now. I have a message for any trans and non-binary folks who may be watching. We are perfect and beautiful just the way we are. We are the experts on who we are. We have always existed and we will always exist, and no elected official can erase us with the stroke of a pen. The item on today's agenda is not about protecting women and girls. It's about ignorance, perpetuating misinformation, and scapegoating a vulnerable community to divert attention from the actual issues facing our county. It's also already illegal under California state law. Transphobes and bigots are loud because what they are truly afraid of is our power, our vibrancy, and our fearlessness to live our lives authentically. Don't let fear and bigotry dim your shine, and know that there are so many people and organizations in San Diego who are fighting for you. Trans and non-binary people aren't going anywhere. I urge the board to...
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Karina Pugh. My pronouns are she, her, and on behalf of the San Diego LGBT Community Center, I urge you to vote no on item 10. HR 28 is a harmful, bigoted resolution that could prevent transgender students from participating and competing in sex-segregated school sports in alignment with their gender identity. This legislation is not about protecting women and girls. It's an uninformed attempt to fearmonger and demonize trans folks, despite the fact that there are very few trans athletes who compete in school sports. Among over 510,000 athletes in the NCAA, for instance, fewer than 10 are trans. Arguments that trans women have unfair advantages in sports competitions and are stronger than their cisgender counterparts feed into misogynistic, scientifically inaccurate misconceptions that are oversimplifications of biological factors. In fact, the ACLU states that socioeconomic disadvantages reflect the vast majority of disparities in sports fairness, despite transphobic attempts to claim otherwise. This legislation could also expose you to her.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning.
I'm Kelly Knufkin, opposed. This does not protect women and girls. Instead, it tries to divide people by creating a fake problem and fear-mongering about trans youth. And all girls playing sports will be less safe if they have to worry about their gender being investigated. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Daniel Calderon. I want to question the board members' decision to bring this motion forward. Studies done by both the British Journal of Sports Medicine and our very own National Institute of Health have shown that trans athletes have no advantage over cis counterparts. This motion targets less than 0.1% of all athletes and would subject all women and girls within our community to having their participation in sports scrutinized. When much more pressing issues are facing the women in our community, such as food insecurity, lack of housing, and a rising cost of education, focusing on such a non-issue indicates a cowardice to actually lead San Diego County towards a better future. I yield my time. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Isabella McHale, and I'm here to speak in opposition to this item. This act has nothing to do with biology or the protecting women and girls. Its only effects are to tell certain children that they do not have a right to exist and to try and erase from public life a portion of the population that a minority of people just don't like. But no person has a right to tell another that they just shouldn't exist. Should this reactionary proposal pass, it will be dragging us back to an era where few enjoy the freedoms that rightfully belong to all of us. I ask you to oppose this item and be secure in the knowledge that you would be keeping this county you serve a safe place for all women and girls in our community. Thank you.
Good afternoon, board. My name is Corey Schumacher. I am a 3-time Women's World Longboard Surfing Champion. For 30 years, I was a competitive athlete and spent 2 decades of my life fighting for pay equity in professional surfing. I vehemently oppose this draconian and patronizing resolution. This homotransphobic resolution touts itself as interested in fairness, yet its ploy is to distract from the real fairness at issue here, which is income inequality rooted in the exploitation and oppression of working families and serving the narrow interests of vapid politicians more interested in power than compassion. We do not need your protection. We need protection from your Christo-fascist values.
Good afternoon or good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is AJ Estrada, resident of Chula Vista, and my family are appalled that this gross, unconscionable attack against our children has been granted any sort of legitimacy in this chamber. We're talking about children playing sports, young people that make up less than 0.1% of our population, if that. Instead of focusing on the very real issues of the day, the rising cost of living, the lack of affordable and attainable housing, or our very real need for investments in our public infrastructure, this is what we are spending time on. Housing opportunities are non-existent, the price of eggs are still rising, and our federal government is being dismantled before our eyes, but this is what you seem to think the community wants to talk about and focus on. Children whose only crime is existing and wanting to play a sport. This is weak behavior. Weak people feel strong, dominating others. Do not support this.
Good afternoon, board. My name is Carol Kim, and I'm here as a mother of 2 teenagers, and I wanted to share some remarks from 2 cisgendered 15-year-old girls who are active in athletics and sports at their school. The first one, I'm going to just use their initials, is SA, and she says, I think that trans people shouldn't be restricted from being in sports because people are usually born with genetic advantages and disadvantages anyways. Those who are taller or have higher levels of metabolism typically benefit more than those without. So being unfair towards trans people because they may have, quote, a genetic advantage, unquote, is not logical. The other person says, and her initials are KE, trans girls shouldn't be left behind because of their bodies. And it's silly to think that your students really see trans girls as a threat in sports. Also, it's even more silly that you might think that a boy might pretend to be trans just to participate in the girls' sports. It's like you've never stepped inside a high school or met a teenage boy. Anyway, get guns out of schools, not trans people. You're worried about your kids getting hurt? Kids don't.
Thank you.
Kevin Stevenson, I'm speaking against this item. I don't think we should be rewarding Jim Desmond with some anti-trans item. It's completely bogus. It feeds into a false narrative about cis women in sports being in danger by trans people when that's not at all true. It's not based in science. It's not based in history. It's just paranoia from transphobic pieces of crap who want to lecture trans people about what rights they support supposedly should and shouldn't have. It's an unnecessary barrier to basic human rights, and I look forward to this item not even getting a second because Joel's out today. So Jim Desmond, enjoy this item dying on the floor, because most people, as you can see from the public comment that came out today, are not in favor of this transphobic garbage. Just because Trump is president right now does not mean that San Diego has to go along with his nonsense. Thank you.
Hey, it's Truth. So this is what we're focusing on, really. Focusing on protecting women and girls. That's right. I feel like, I listened to some of the comments. I didn't have time to listen to all of them, but what I heard was a lot of femphobia, to be honest with you. But does Jim suddenly care about women? Or is he just running for Congress? Did Tara figure out what a woman is yet? I will not insert an inappropriate hinge-cringe joke here. Is Tara going to introduce an item in the future about trans men and biological men's sports? Does she not consider that an issue? This is about the safety of biological women. This is about ending fear experienced by women. This is about protecting the minority of women in sports. This is about not marginalizing the physical abilities of biological women. This is about securing the rights that women have fought for so many generations for. This is about fighting against biological women phobia. This is about following.
That's a pretty hot topic here, but I believe that males, however they identify, should not be competing in women's sports. This is common sense. Women's sports exist for a reason, to give women and girls a fair playing field. Allowing males to compete against them isn't progress, it's actually a step backwards. While there is a presidential executive order in place, the House Rule, or HR Bill 24, codifies this into law, ensuring lasting protection for women and girls. My request is that we support HR 28 as it moves through Congress. This is especially critical, given that the state of California has already stated they will not abide by the executive order. Laws matter. And without this, women and girls in sports will continue to face unfair and dangerous conditions. This legislation is about fairness and safety, and it really shouldn't be controversial. I don't really know how we've gotten in this place in society that it's even up for debate. But women's sports exist to give women that open and fair playing field, and that shouldn't change. As a father, I wouldn't want my daughter playing sports and risking potential injury against male athletes. Local parents have told me they're deeply concerned about their daughters having to share locker rooms with boys, which is happening in North San Diego County. This isn't about competition, it's about safety. Women and girls across the country have already been seriously injured because of unfair matchups. A high school volleyball player suffered a partial paralysis after a male athlete spiked the ball at her. A girls' basketball team was forced to forfeit a game because multiple players were injured by a male opponent. Collegiate teams are walking off the court in protest, facing legal battles over unfair competition. Males should not be competing in women's sports, no matter how they identify. This isn't about politics, this is about fairness, safety, and common sense. Women's sports have come a long way. With Title IX, we can't afford to take a step backward, taking away trophies and scholarships from women. Women and girls deserve safe and fair competition, and I think we must stand up for them now. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the county support of HR 28.
Thank you to all of you who have come out. Every public comment. We started this morning with an invocation, and within that invocation, the pastor said, God, you have no favorites. Everyone is cherished and everyone is loved. That's how we started this morning out. And while we have federal government workers who don't know if they'll have a job tomorrow, while we have teenagers that may have access to nuclear codes, while we have a president that is not abiding by court orders, we're spending our time actively looking to discriminate against the trans community. That's what we're doing right now. And I just believe we have a lot better things to do. We have budget discussions coming up. We have no idea what this administration is going to do. And you know, I agree that laws matter. But right now, the leadership, especially at the federal level, does not reflect that. We have a felon in office right now. And then we also have a person who has no authority, has not been voted in, who's ravaging our government right now. And so I just, we can't have it both ways. Can't have it both ways. So let me just say this. Before the NCAA changed its policy last week, the NCAA President Charlie Baker told a Senate committee in December that he is aware of less than 10 transgender college athletes out of 510,000. We do the math, and some other estimates say it's around 40, but if we do the math, that's 0.0019% of all college athletes in the country. I just don't think we have time for this. I just don't think we have time for it. And the last thing that I'll say to the trans community, thank you for being here, and allies, thank you. I always thank all the public commenters. I did at the beginning of this, of my comments. Without that, this would not be America. But I do think that we have to, if we're going to even have the conversation, it needs to be with dignity and respect. There's too many loose words flying around here, and it's really since I've been here and before. But if we're going to get to uplifting the many instead of denigrating the few, our conversations need to be with more compassion, no matter what side of the this issue that we stand on. So I won't be supporting it. I think we have a lot of things to consider, and we have a lot of fights ahead of us, and I will not be supporting this board letter today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a motion on the floor. I don't see a second. So if there's no second, the motion fails. Is that correct? Okay, thank you very much. So I would like to make an alternative motion. I agree with the title of the board letter, nothing else in it. So my alternative motion is to strike the recommendation and replace it with the words, direct the Chief Administrative Officer to include advocacy and support for equal pay for women in sports in our board-adopted legislative program. That would be my motion. Okay, we have a second by Supervisor Montgomery Stepp. Direct the Chief Administrative Officer to include advocacy and support for equal pay for women in sports in our board-adopted legislative program. And we will be striking the rest of the board letter.
Just like the arguments against that I heard earlier, is this really
Supervisor Desmond, can you please put your name up and I will call on you? Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
I didn't do it.
Would you like to speak?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, just like the argument you said of we shouldn't be wasting our time on this, this is another thing that you're just putting another thing out there to waste time on, to say we should have equal pay. I think they should. If they're going to be, if women can draw in the same crowds and create the same amount of money in their sporting events, then yes, they should be doing that. It's a business, the sporting stuff. So I'm not going to be supporting that, because for the same reason you didn't support mine, this is not worthy of our time.
Okay, we have a motion by myself and a second by Supervisor Montgomery Stepp. Please vote.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion fails due to the lack of required affirmative votes, with Supervisor Desmond voting no and Supervisor Lawson-Remer and Supervisor Montgomery Stepp voting aye.
Justin Castro. I don't understand how you selectively choose to enforce your rules. For example, you did not want people to clap after you approved one thing, and you immediately stopped it. Right before your lunch, you went through something, you were able to say something, and you allowed the people to clap. Matter of fact, people are claiming that you allow me to go ahead and talk on things that I shouldn't be able to talk about while you punish other people. Well, I know the reason why you're punishing other people for my actions is because you cannot control my actions.
Okay, we're going to pause your time. Please pause.
Yeah, feel free to pause my time and give me a little bit extra time.
If you keep talking, then you're going to be
If you want to go ahead and interrupt me, we can go ahead and do it.
If you keep talking, you will forfeit your time. This is a first warning. I am reminding everyone that we must stay on topic. So any comments of any sort related to the adoption of the strategic planning process, ordinances, amendments, the KPIs, sustainable funding options, or anything else mentioned and discussed or proposed in items 11 or 12 are relevant and are full game for a comment. If you are not commenting on anything relevant to the item, then your time will be forfeited. Okay, please begin his time again.
Fucking cunts, we're talking about issue number 11. What exactly is issue 11? These fucking cunts can't even tell you themselves. So, if you want to go ahead and interrupt me, I could go ahead and say fucking cunts on 11.
Okay, you had one warning. You are not on topic.
No, I'm talking about 11.
Please cut him off. Thank you.
Oh, what a day. Anywho, so it's interesting to see you guys want to postpone these items. I think that is a good idea to.
And I'm going to ask you to please state your name.
My person uses the name Audra Andrew.
Thank you.
That suffice? Okay. And you probably didn't stop my time. It's fine. Yeah, but, you probably should be going in and making sure that whatever you're doing with this strategic plan, it's such a great name that you guys have for it. It's everything you do is strategic. But to make sure that, you don't continue to do things that are going to make the federal government not want to give you any funding. I mean, it's interesting because usually you guys, because you're money whores, just like NGOs and of the like, you will do anything to get money. You will worship, the climate god as long as, you're going to get funding for it. So it's interesting to see that now that there is a new administration, that your tactics will change and you'll actually go against the federal government. Then you're going to wonder why there's not going to be federal funding coming in. But it's all because of your doing. So if anything is cut in the county by the federal government, it's going to be your guys' fault. So it is probably a good idea for the strategic plan to be audited to make sure that you are not going to be obstructing the federal government, leading to, the destruction of San Diego further, because you're not going to have the funding that you guys need to, provide pretend homeless, things. I mean, technically it's pretty much a good idea because when you guys get money in your hands, you really just waste it and you destroy the lives of the people in San Diego further. So if the federal funding is cut due to your actions, it's probably a blessing in disguise, so that you can't continue to do all of the destructive things that you guys have been doing for years that have led to these kinds of actions needing to take place. So it would behoove you to not only fire Claudia because she isn't worth 2 pennies to tell you a bunch of propaganda.
Mark, homelessness will increase if the Federal Reserve is not forced to pay the debt plus damages and abolished. Homelessness will increase if the corrupt wealth distribution is not corrected. See this YouTube video. It's wealth inequality in America. Imprisoning people the government makes homeless is slavery, and people are causing fires to try to stay warm. No time left for government bullshit. 10,605 homeless people. Appy's Core, $10,134 for a 410 square foot 3D printed home. Divided by 4, that is $2,533 for a 10 by 10 foot room. Times 10,605 homeless in San Diego is $26.8 million. So each have a room. For another $10.6 million, you can buy each homeless person a $1,000 adult 5,000 watt 60-volt electric scooter. Top speed 47 miles per hour, range 55 miles with seat. No need to subsidize rent with unsustainable tax dollars. Put them on 1/7 of center of Fiesta Island or solve two problems at once. Row them up along San Diego's 90-mile southern border with razor-sharp back walls. Your counselors will help them get jobs instead of bank accounts so they can reintegrate back into society within 1 to 2 years, leaving you thousands of mobile rooms for emergency shelters or to rent to other cities. 4 Border Patrol agents and their families could be housed every mile, and call 48 other agents within a 6-mile radius or the military if necessary. Cameras and motion sensors connected to a command center. I'm not talking about deporting migrants. I'm talking about defending our border from the child sex trafficking, rapes, and murders our citizens and police this board's negligence has caused. It will also get you billions of dollars Trump is withholding in federal funds. And no, I am not for Trump. Your low-income housing scam destroys the middle class and taxes them unsustainably to make a few people wealthy.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Alicia Morrison, and this is my first County Board of Supervisors meeting. And I wanted to attend to better understand and educate myself on the process of these meetings and how they are conducted. I live in the unincorporated area of Lincoln Acres and have recently retired. Exploring my next chapter in life and being a passionate lover of horses, my search led me to the sheriff's website for the volunteer mounted unit and started down a rabbit hole. Nowhere did I see the sheriff's Lincoln Acres office located on the website. Both Borrego Springs and Boulevard offices are listed. Where's Lincoln Acres? One does exist directly across the corridor from the Lower Sweetwater Fire Protection District. I do have a picture. There it is right there, Sheriff Kelly Martinez. And I felt compelled to do my civic duty for my beloved Lincoln Acres. I'm here to initiate the correction of an oversight and get the Sheriff's Lincoln Acres office listed on the website as soon as possible. As a taxpayer, I would like my community of Lincoln Acres recognized and acknowledged. So I'm guessing that you will probably refer this to the Sheriff's Department to get Lincoln Acres on the website. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very telling that you have 53 items on closed session. It is a reflection of what the government in San Diego is doing, and the fact that you're only going to allow basically just 2-point-something seconds for each item to be addressed is an impossibility. There's no way you could address all of these items in the time allotted. And knowing that the Board of Supervisors is under investigation by the FBI is also telling. And the fact that you guys are going to go into closed session and deal with 53 items, I bet none of you fully are aware of what is going on in each litigating item that you are going to be talking about in closed session. Not only that, you're not going to report back to the people what was actually done. You're always going to say there's nothing to report back. But the amount of time that you're going to be spending on all of these just shows that you guys aren't doing what's necessary to make sure that you guys aren't engaging in things that need to be fought in the courts by, like, silencing people. And again, yeah, with Consuelo, you shouldn't have done that arbitrarily just to her. If you're going to do that, you need to be equitable and do it with all the people that you are having to sit there and stop, which you shouldn't even be doing anyway, because that will lead yourselves to be in litigation for going against your oath and violating the First Amendment rights of the people to be able to come in and redress their grievances. That's, again, why Claudia Silvia should be fired and shouldn't be the one that is giving you any kind of advice when she herself is not aware of what needs to be done and is abrogating her oath as well, and she's attached to the bar, so she's always going to do something that is in violation of the people's rights. So to be going to her for any kind of information or advice is actually furthering the abuse of the people, and it's just sad to see that there's this many.
Thank you. Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on the closed session matters.